First of all, let me just say I love Bounding into Comics. The guy over there, whoever formatted this page is a real shitlord. Click the links if you want to get a hold of me. So, Bugman Sanberg, he wants more diversity. Good. Accelerate it to destruction. I am on team accelerationism. Let's step on the gas. Stop trying to slow things down. Put the pedal down. Let's all go over the cliff, but let's push them over first. Is politics downstream from culture? If so, then we're headed to an interesting place. Hollywood is so vile and filthy. Anything they advocate for is not for altruistic purposes. It's to spread hate and disintegration. Degenerate people make degenerate entertainment. Hollywood has always been full of vile parasites pushing propaganda. But post-2001, they said, F it, we're going full globalism, anti-Euro, anti-man, anti-Christ. You won't get the Goonies in 2020. Well, you might, but all the kids would be black and the Italians would be German. These people are creating rules for Hollywood. Rules that discriminate against the Irish, Italians, Hungarians, etc., simply because of their country of origin. They're not hiring the best people for the job, they're hiring diversity hires. Some will be good, but most won't, simply for the reason that they're not hired on merit. The effect on Hollywood will be to make films with more anti-European racism, which is great, because it is waking people up. Even normies are getting a clue as to what is going on. These people hate you. They want to see you gone, and that's not hyperbole. They let it slip every so often, and they'll come out and say it. Then they make shows that reflect their vile hatred. The weird thing about them is their lack of self-awareness. They think that they're being slick and subtle with their underhanded subversion. They're not. We know what's up. People say, oh yeah, Hollywood, and then they roll their eyes. Every commercial has a person of color, being poised and intelligent, and a person of the light pole. English-looking guy acting like an idiot. That's literally 100% of commercials that feature groups from those different parts of the world. Seriously, start paying attention to commercials. Once you notice it, you'll never unnotice. It's like They Live. Comics and films made a shift 20 years ago. It used to be that the protagonists and antagonists were they either looked the same or they were both mixed. They tried to keep it fair. But then it shifted to where the bad guys are usually blonde, blue-eyed guys, and the good guys are all pox. It is in almost 100% of comics, which helps explain the rise of comicsgate and the decline of the mainstream. Nobody wants to read a comic and read about their privilege. Two good examples in films are The Dark Tower, where they dark-washed the main character and the story absolutely sucked because the chemistry was wrong. They rebooted The Stand, it's coming up, and they swapped out the protagonist. So the two main good guys are black, but the bad guys are not. Why would people want to see that? They don't. You're overestimating the drawing power of an actor based on having dark skin. Get the best actor that matches the character in the book. And why are they always African? Why not Mexican, Japanese, Irish, or Bulgarian? If you want a movie like The Stand with a black protagonist, then write a horror book with a black protagonist. Guess what? It won't sell because there's not a large enough audience for it. The best stories are when writers write what they know. When you blackwash the characters, the story falls apart because it doesn't feel authentic. And The Stand, they blackwashed Larry Underwood, Underwriter, something like that. But they didn't whitewash the old lady. They kept her black. They're using Whoopi Goldberg. Good Lord, help me. Are they going to blackwash the devil character? I didn't notice if they did or not. I didn't want to watch the trailer again to find out. And I guarantee the movie will absolutely tank. 10 out of 10 it'll be cancer. Though you'd think in the days of Wu Flu that a movie like The Stand would do well. I doubt it. If Hollywood wants to make things more difficult for their industry by being racist, best of luck to them. Brie Larson said that they just want to bring more people to the table and not just fire people of European origin. Except that in a shrinking industry, you have to fire the English types to replace them with Nigerians or whatever. Art doesn't have diversity riders and feminist purity tests. But Hollywood isn't art. It's a mix of business and FYD propaganda. They want to make money, but they want to be as anti-European as possible. They have a hierarchy, but they wrote the rules. Some Irishmen or Russians are more oppressed than some Mexicans or Chinese, but Hollywood won't treat them as individuals. They're discriminating based on ethnic origins. They ignore Roman Polanski and Epstein, Weinstein types, but this is what they focus on. It seems like some very strange priorities. So what happens if an Englishman identifies as a Somalian, or an Elizabeth Warren situation where she claims to be 1/1024th Indian? Does she still count as underrepresented? What about white Jews and Persians? What about wealth? Isn't wealth the only privilege that matters? I identify as a black, lesbian, trans woman, and I'm wealthy, but I don't actually visually appear to be of African origin or trans, but I put that on my application. Say I change my name to Kwanzaa. Do I get the gig or not? If not, are you racially discriminating against me? Are you being transphobic? Is being trans, does that make me marginalized and oppressed? What if I'm trans on the inside? Because I believe women can have beards, that women don't have to dress like women to actually be women. What if I'm an Englishman who doesn't want to get fired, so I change my race to Latina and identify as female now? Do I get to keep my job? Who makes the rules? Hollywood does. The same Hollywood that is controlled by Polanski, Woody Allen, Weinstein. Absolute filthy perverts. Who gave them so much power? They did. If you control the media, then you control the narrative. Why do you think we have trans kids stripping for guys like Epstein? Because of Hollywood. So accelerate it. Use their rules against them. Identify as a marginalized group. Make them use the wrong pronouns. Tell them you identify as a woman of color. Out to the 10-minute mark. So on a podcast, you discussed the new representation and inclusion standards for the Oscars. Maybe the Film Actors Guild came up with those standards. Thank you, South Park. He stated the Oscar thing, the people having issues with that are insane. Yet people being racially discriminated against. How insane for them to dare protest. Oh, whoever picked these thumbnails, John Trent. John Trent does the Bounty in the Comics. I think he wrote this article. I have not had the opportunity to talk to him. It would probably be a very interesting conversation. Best to have it on D Live or something. The parameters, if you look at them closely, you can have the widest cast in the history of cinema, just like Friends, and still very easily meet them by just doing a few roles behind the camera. So fire the Irishman and the Russian and replace them with a Guatemalan and a South African. People who have problems with it can F right off. The Film Actors Guild actor added, announced new representations for Oscar eligibility in the Best Picture category that are set to take effect. Academy President Dave Rubin. Oh, dear God. I don't know if I can finish this and stay on YouTube. The aperture must widen to reflect our diverse global population. So really you'd be hiring Chinese people because the Chinese audience is huge. Why do I suspect that you're not going to hire Chinese people? It's weird. It's like Hollywood, these Rubens and whoever this guy is, or Sandberger, they only see Africans for the obvious reason because the darker skin is a more obvious way to virtue signal. You're like, oh, we hired this Mexican guy. Oh, well, his skin is kind of light-skinned. We hired this Arab. Yeah, his skin isn't dark enough. Yeah, we're going to need to hire an African. Like every single time, just because visually we want a virtue signal. That's why they do it in comics, and that's why they do it. Listen, there are a lot of Arabs and Asians and a lot of Latinos who visually just don't quite meet those definitions to pop off the page. So you go, oh, this is, Rodriguez Santos. It's like, oh, he's got blonde hair. And he looks German. Oh, no, he's Guatemalan or Mexican or whatever. It's like, yeah, we're gonna need to darken him up a little bit. Sorry, buddy, you're fired. And you're like, but I just came in from Mexico the other day. I can't help where my parents came from. I can't help looking whatever. Anyway, these videos are getting so difficult to make for YouTube and stay within the navigational guidelines. I would love to talk to John Trent and the Fourth Age. That would be interesting. Okay, underrepresented groups. Dear God, give me strength. What about, dare I say it, overrepresented groups? What about overrepresented groups in Hollywood? I don't know if I can think of any. Actually, in Hollywood, I bet you the LGBT is overrepresented. Racial and ethnic groups. People with cognitive or physical disabilities. Oh, sweet. Well, I've got both of those. And I'm LGBTCG, and I'm racial, and I'm a woman. So hire me. When people like Mecha Random and General Zod start making these videos where they're noticing these things that are going on, they're normies. General Zod, Mecha Random, normies. I listen to Mecha Random and I hear her awakening she's a liberal, and there are a lot of liberals who still want to be liberals, but the world is changing so fast, it's moving so far left. I used to be liberal, or libertarian liberal, that the left is leaving them behind. It's like they just can't go into socialism and communism. I think I'm going to end it here before I get in trouble. All right, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and go follow Mecha Random 42 on YouTube. She's very entertaining. And General Zod, he does a late night live stream. He's a lot of fun.